All right, what's up, Trust Engine community? This is Dave Savage. I am interviewing Craig Davis. Craig was at the MBA. Craig has been a co-head of production for a top 20 IMB mortgage company. Today he is a coach. He is a consultant. He is doing fractional chief strategy officer work at a top mortgage company. And we were both at the MBA, which was really well attended, at least from my perspective. I had a lot of great meetings. I wasn't in the sessions, but I met with so many great people. And I want to talk about takeaways and trends that are important to know for both mortgage advisors and for executives. So this is for both the C-suite and for loan officers. So, Greg, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me. And you know me, right? I love these conversations and I loved being a part of the MBA and being down there and being able to hang with you and so many other just great innovators of our industry and, really just people who really care about doing good business. And that was, just seeing like the spirit in the room and the executives and the vendors and everyone there to serve of like, where's this thing going? And it was such a positive, I think, I'm gonna go back to the word innovative spirit in there. I think there's this large sense of, this business is moving very fast right now. And we need to be on the innovative side of that. And so I love those types of conversations. And I mean, what were your thoughts when you're looking at the room, the people? I mean, obviously the conversations you're having, like just the culture of the MBA, if you will.
Well, I've been going for, I mean, that might have been my 15th, but for sure at least 10 times. And obviously, part of the times things were really good. And
Mhm.
and I've been through some peaks and some valleys. And the past two MBAs have not been great. It's been very somber. I would have characterized the vibe and the conversations as defense. We're on the defense. Let's stay alive to 25. And although there was some hope the year before, we thought we were going to have some lower rates, and then we had, what was it, May 10th or whatever it was, and
Right,
rates
May
were up
10th.
instead of down, and
Yeah.
23 was a tough year. But it was offense, and I
Yeah.
think that was one of the things we wanted to talk about is like the industry is on the offense. I do believe that the thought of status quo is not
Mhm.
how at least people at this event were thinking. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
status quo doesn't work. And we need to, I like in the background, make shift
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
Uh, so I think that you coined that phrase, but I think everybody's like, hey, let's make shift happen fast. So let's do this. Like, let's just kind of list topics that we're going to cover over this, like, let's say
Yeah.
30 minutes, and then we'll come back and unpack them. But let's just like start laying out like topics because I have some. But before I go, I'm interviewing you. What are some concepts and topics that we want to
Yeah.
unpack over the next 30 minutes?
Well, I think the obvious, and I'm going to put this in quotation marks just so like the words AI, right? And I'm going to put that in tech because I think AI is the new tech, right? I mean, whether it's AI or not, just really truly understanding what is going to be the influence that it has on our industry. So I think the all-encompassing AI slash tech, and I'm going to frame that so much in what does that mean between now and let's say over the next 3 years? And then what does that mean 3 years from now going forward? And I'm thinking about it in those two segments. So I think that's a conversation. Um, I think there's always the
Real quick though, and we'll make that a topic. I won't get
yeah.
into it. I do think they're almost a little different,
That's what I
but
mean. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, anyways, we'll unpack that one. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it next. By the way, if you're the audience and you're watching this and there's some topics, whether it's at the LO level or whether it's at the executive level that you would love for me to talk about more, put that in chat. I'm, you know, creating more content than ever and trying to bring more leadership than ever to the industry because I think we are on offense. I think there's a really like this is a really important time because we've been through winter, and if you're at the top, like we can't screw up. And loan officers, you've struggled, for the
Yeah.
past couple of years. Now, by the way, not all loan officers have struggled the same. I mean, I'm interviewing some people that are killing it, like just monster volume right now. But a lot of people are struggling, and you don't want to screw up. You want to optimize this market as we come into this new market we're in. All right,
Yeah.
what's next?
And actually reminds me of something one of my clients said to me. And again, defense versus offense. Over the last couple of years in defense, it's been like this race to the bottom, if you will. Well, now as we position to maximize on the opportunities ahead, one of my clients said, you know what? Now it's a race to the top. And I thought that was really insightful. And so I think that is like, what does that mean? Because there's a race to the top, and I think that can certainly introduce because I don't think there's not one answer here. And I want to be very clear. And even when we talk about the differences in channels, large IMB, small IMB, broker, I'm agnostic to channel. And I know you are too as well, Dave. And I think there's pros and cons and there's opportunities and challenges within each. Some of that might just be exposed differently in the current market, and that might change in the future. So I think there's an awareness of the channels within the industry and where everybody fits within that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't have a lot of conversations on that. I have in previous
mhm,
markets. And as the broker channel started to grow, I mean, I don't remember what year it was, but that's been a real topic. But I mean, for me, that was not as much of a topic. I mean, loan officer comp,
mhm,
a
mhm.
topic, and I actually did a post this Monday. I was almost afraid to start the conversation because I was like, where is this gonna go? And my goal for anyone listening to this is I want to bring proactive leadership to loan officers, and at the same time to executives on how do we right size LO comp today and in a way that's sustainable going forward. And so I started that conversation on Monday. I actually am going to get interviewed or going to be on a call with Ryan Hills. I think it will air on Monday, the RE source. And then I've got a lot of feedback. Like I won't say it went viral, but I mean, I got a lot of engagement on that. And I've had a
Yeah.
lot of both loan officers and executives, you know, share some thoughts confidentially, like, don't put my name on this, but confidential. Then I've got some that are like, put my name on it. Like this is how I think about it. So I don't know, are you game about talking
Oh
LO
yeah,
comp?
yeah, no, and I look at LO comp, and again, you and I have had these conversations too, and so I frame it more around what are the impacts of margin compression on the industry as well, and where does that all trickle down to, and various impacts and solutions that come with it. LO comp being absolutely a part of that bigger conversation.
Yeah. And then one more topic, and then we'll see if you have another one, and we'll either tackle four,
Yeah,
but technology adoption. And
yeah,
we can talk about that within that, but I mean,
yeah,
you know, I'm either talking to customers or I'm talking to prospects, and we're all like, how do we get more adoption? And
yeah,
and I do feel that at Trust Engine, that's something that we really excel at, and we get an uncommon level of adoption. And I do believe with what we're doing, we'll just get an even higher level. But I
yeah.
would just say, as a whole, especially when it comes to sales and marketing technology, lenders are very, frustrated with that, and it's a big problem. Any thoughts on that?
It's a huge problem because it's a huge problem on every level in the world, right? Because technology, first of all, is not cheap. And here we are talking about margin compression, LO comp, and companies want to invest in technology for every reason in the world. And some of those reasons being loan officers saying we have to have this. But all of a sudden we get it, and then there's low adoption, and then at the executive level, we're questioning ROI, but yet we have to have it to be competitive. And so it does create that's, one of the challenges in this bigger conversation, certainly. So I think what does tech mean? What does it look like? How do we create better adoption? Are we going bigger, broader, and wider with it, or are we going more narrow and deeper with it? Things those are hard. those are hard questions sometimes to answer because we know it's the right thing to do, but it's very difficult to execute at a widespread level, meaning the adoption side of it.
By the way, is there another topic, or are we going to go
I
after it?
think these are pretty good. I think these
Okay,
topics will,
let's go after it. And
yeah,
I put it in an order that might surprise you. And here's my logic. I put race to the top first because
yeah,
that's what we all want to do. And
yeah,
whether it's like I want to get to the next level or
yeah,
whatever my top is. So
yeah,
if you're a loan officer, think about that. Race top of your goals. If you are an IMB, whether you are a top 10, 20, 100, or in the top 1,000, what's your race to the top? And then I put LO comp number two because I do think it's a lever,
yep,
and then I literally put tech last because it's an enabler,
yep,
and or it's you're just missing massive opportunity, which I think is always the case. So race to the
yeah.
top. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the race to the top is this business is going to continue rewarding those that know how to navigate this industry better than others. It's going to widen the gap between those who, let's say, are at the top or might have the resources to keep themselves there. And that's a difference. And then maybe the smaller guys that can navigate below it. But that middle ground, I think, it will continue to get harder and harder to survive at. So I think there's that. I think from an originator standpoint, like you said earlier, look, there are great originators that are doing very well. And there's also great originators that are not doing very well. And I believe that the race to the top also means market share ultimately. And look, we're going to have a different level of competition in this business moving forward, especially with rates coming down. As rates come down, you have, I think, a massive rise in the call center lead generating model, as well as a higher intensity for the servicers to keep, I'm going to put in quotation marks, their clients. Like whose client is it? Is it your client or is it their client? Right. So now,
No, no,
of course,
hey, make no mistake, anyone listening to this, the servicer has an existing business relationship, and they are delivering a touch point every month. There is something maybe in the mail, for sure digital. There's an exchange of funds and service monthly, and they're getting really good at being proactive at reaching out to that consumer with value. Like they're good.
yeah,
So if you are IMB, your loan officer, and you don't deliver regular value, if you're not reaching out proactively, and I'm going to talk about that more in a minute,
yeah,
your your market share. And I would also push people to not just think about market share, think about what share of the business are you getting out of your database? Like, what's your database share? And you either want your database share to go up, which I think is the name of the game. And the servicers have certainly done that. Tell me, I think servicers used to be pretty happy if they retained 30% of their servicing portfolio. I talked to someone at this MBA where they said like the typical PE firm that's investing in servicers and institutional lenders, if they can retain 30%, the numbers work. And there are servicers that are retaining, over 50, over 80% of their refis. It's crazy.
and I think that that's going to increase. And I'll say this. This is why when rates do come down, this refi wave is going to be different than the rest. Because yes, I get it. Call centers have always been there, but they're going to be more intensive, like we're talking about servicers. And the underlying thread that's going to make this more intense is technology. And it's the technology that Trust Engine is providing. I'm not saying providing to them. It's available to all of you who's listening, but the servicers have the AI, they have the data insights, they are fast to the lead, and they have a better rate. So going to your point, so the race to the top is not just calling when you're in the zone for refi. I tell everybody, if your business plan is to call for refis, it's too late. It is too late. You will get beat. Instead, and this is one of the things that I, consult and coach on constantly is you need to have a customer for life vertical in your business. And as part of your customer for life vertical, one of your strategies certainly is a quarterly keep in touch. One of your strategies is using MortgageCoach, right, to be a strategic advisor. One of your strategies, right, is setting up mortgage reviews. I mean, all these different things that you're providing value so you're in front of your client constantly and consistently, not just at a time that there's an applicable refi, right? We want purchases, refis, referrals, and gratitude to be a result of your customer for life vertical. And that's part of, at least in my advising, that's part of what's going to help you win that race to the top. So, and I think it's really critical. And I'm just going to add this one last point. When we implement that as a strategy, not just throwing actions at something and hope they stick, but when we actually truly have this customer for life strategy and all these multiple components, we are on offense. That is being on offense because we're always in motion on that, regardless of whatever external factors are impacting, such as rates or other market influences.
Yeah, I want to just park a term for everybody. There's status quo, which
Mm-hmm.
is reactive,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is the future of lending, which is proactive. And the term we use all the time here at Trusted is speed to need. Like the lender at scale and the loan officer at scale can get to the need of the consumer. And here's the thing, to get to the need of the consumer before the consumer even knew they had that need. You know, there are a lot of people that qualify to move up. They want to move up, but they think, oh, I've got a 3%, 2%, 4% mortgage. I can't move up, or I don't want to leave that. And I'll just give you an example. If you can be a company and a lender that can, one, predict who that move up borrower is that has a propensity and qualifies, and then you can be the one to call that move up buyer and say, you know what? Did you know that if you moved up and oh, you live in Denver, Colorado, or whatever the market is, and whatever the appreciation rates are, or whatever the consumer thinks the appreciation rate is, and you could visualize and tell them a real estate story, not just a transaction story, but tell them a 5 year build wealth with real estate, achieve your dreams faster. Like if you could vision cast that, I actually think that the industry can actually improve the product, like the lender that can predict those needs, put a loan, not a loan officer, an advisor, a trusted
Yes.
advisor in that situation that can have a trusted, compelling conversation with the consumer. Like we could create loans. And right now, I think the industry waits for the loans to come to them. Like they wait for a realtor to give a referral. They wait for a consumer to call in and say, I have a need. About the only time that I think the industry is proactive is when rates come down and we're like, oh, here's all the people that I can do a rate and term refi for. And then we get proactive for a short period of time, in a very limited way. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love it all, right? And so I want to frame it also like this too, right? And this comes into where I do more of my, in my fractional leadership roles, right? Fractional CO and whatnot. Let's look at the three different segments within a mortgage company, right? You have the originator, you have the branch manager, and then you have the executives and leadership. Well, there's got to be an integration between these three parties. And here's what I mean by that. By nature, originators are entrepreneurial. It's great. We love that. But that can also be part of the challenge. Meaning, and this is part of what, as I work with some clients, like, hey, no feral cats. The more we can develop consistency, support and training, implementing these different, like I'll go back to the customer for life vertical. Actually, can I share my screen real quick? I'll show this to you.
Yeah, bring some
Yeah.
gold, man.
This is gold, man. This is I mean, this is part of the stuff I'm leading with here. So again, let's just use the example where, hey, a couple weeks ago, awesome, rates come down, we get super excited, we start throwing actions, let's go call for refis. To your point, that's reactive and that could be too late. Or hey, Then a couple weeks later, rates go back up. Well, crap. Now what do we do? And ergo, people are stuck and they're frustrated again. And we're just in that same sort of start, stop, song, and dance. Well, when we have executives, branch managers, and originators in alignment with each other, providing executives providing the right technology like Trust Engine. So we're getting the data insights. We have speed to need to lead, right? We're cultivating that. We have branch managers that are building training and support leadership with their originators. And this is really critically important. And originators are allowing the branch managers and executives to also be able to provide that. They are also upholding their responsibilities in using the technology and using the CRM and using Trust Engine, being mortgage coaches, right? And those that want to do that, that is who is winning the race to the top. So again, I'm just going to use this as a quick example. I won't go through all of this for the sake of time, but rates come down, we get super excited, we call for refis. Maybe we get some, maybe it's too late, things change, now what? Versus the executive, the branch manager, and the originator who are implementing this business pillar of customer for life. And so here's the vision: to create customers for life with a focus on strategic financing that creates a home of strength, not stress, and equity over debt, resulting in referrals, purchases, refis, and gratitude. And that's what I am as a branch manager, what I am as an originator, what I am as an executive, and what I am leading as one of our verticals within the organization. So look at my very first strategy here is to be a mortgage coach consultant. That strategy feeds the vision. And then the execution of that strategy. Okay, I'm going to do TCA with every consultation. I'm going to give a minimum of 3 financing options to open up a strategic mindset, because I want you, my client, and the referral partners to see me as a mortgage coach consultant, to see me as a strategic advisor. So there's a method to that. Be part of the community. So that's one strategy, right? Another strategy, keep it in touch. Well, that means I have to have my CRM intact. I need to do database harvesting. I'm going to have a quarterly personal touch, a reason to call, to provide value, right? And then, I go down the line here. Strategy 3, my personal brand. That's another thing. Those who are in touch with their personal brand, right? So my personal brand is being a strategic advisor, strategic financing advisor, etc. So the execution on, I'm constantly educating, I'm explaining, I'm energizing, I'm using social media, I'm doing videos, and so on. And then my 4th strategy here. Okay, well, there's my refi now strategy. So look, if the market lowers rates, I might just lever that up more, but I'm not reinventing myself and all of a sudden now I'm attacking the phone. I've already been in touch. I'm already providing value. I'm already thought of it as the strategic financing expert. I'm already providing equity solutions. And I'm already, and this is why right now with rates being high again, good. So everybody listening, right now is exactly the right time to call. Hey, you're not in a position to refi now. No problem. Let's set up a mortgage review. Let's set our target rates. And then we're going to keep in touch, and I'm going to keep an eye on this. As soon as we are within range, we are going to execute on that refi. How does that sound? And I'm going to use MortgageCoach and other tools like that, the database harvesting, using Trust Engine, all this stuff. So we are completely aligned. We're harvesting the gold within the database, and we're using the tools available. And then we're just executing. So whatever those external factors are, rates are up, rates are down, whatever the quote unquote Easter eggs are in the market, we're just already in momentum. We just lever up or down. So that's why the race to the top is also, it's implementing a strategy. So we're in momentum. And this is one of those, which is customer for life, not just calling for refis.
Hey, go to the real bottom of that before you leave. I want everybody to notice at the very bottom where it says clarity and vision, strength in strategy, and scale and execution. And by the way, I really like this document. It's the first time you shared it with me, or I've seen it. So by the way, in the upper right-hand corner, it has a little AI assistant. What AI is that?
Up here, this is, that's just a part of my PDF tool I'm using right here. So I haven't actually clicked on that.
Yeah. Well, by the way, everything has a
Yeah.
AI assistant now. And by the way, go ahead and stop sharing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll just point this out real quick. I'll highlight this here. This is part of my business blueprint. So this is how I work with my clients. So we're creating that clarity, we're having strategy, and we're executing. So this is part of my business blueprint design. So this is, I don't know. Yeah, I probably haven't showed this to you yet. So this is
no,
how we're
no.
creating
And
that.
by the way, Well, at the end, we'll tell everybody
Yeah.
again, you can follow this guy on LinkedIn, Google him. We'll share at the very end
Yeah.
how to engage with Craig. I highly recommend it. Every conversation I have with Craig, I come away with ideas of value. Are you willing to share that document you just shared? Like, is
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
so?
This is part of my give. Yeah.
He'll give that to us. I'll put a link in chat. We'll put it in like Google Docs or something, and we'll have a link to it.
Yeah.
So let's transition before we run out of time. Let's not go to LO comp. Let's close with that. Let's go to
Okay.
tech.
Yeah.
And I really look at AI and tech. I
Hmm.
want to start with AI because it came up a lot because I was asking people, hey, what's keeping you up at night, and what are your challenges? And a lot of IMBs are just like, hey, I am the market's changed. Like I don't ever expect the margins to come back to what they were. Like I do not expect a $4 trillion year. I need to be able to make a profitable business with what we have. We've got an aging loan officer, and I had multiple people tell me that they thought AI right now could help accelerate bringing new loan officers into the business who are process driven, who will use their tech stack, and if just teach the loan officer to talk AI, ask guideline questions and something. And I heard different people say different amounts, but like what used to take 3+ years to learn to be a loan officer could happen in less than a year. Right now, I even had a C-suite executive tell me that they're testing Perplexity, and they're like mind blown with the amount of loan officer assistance that
Hmm.
Perplexity, off the shelf Perplexity. And then also when I talk to like some of the largest top 10 lenders, they're building their own
Hmm.
AI deal desk and have built these things. So what are you hearing on that? And do you agree that right now AI can accelerate bringing new loan offers in, and it can make current loan officers more successful, and it can reduce costs through staff and deal desk?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the answer is D, all of the above. And I look at this too. And like I said in the beginning, there's sort of like two waves, I think, of this. Right now is the initial wave of, okay, AI is now, it's at market, it's so extremely intelligent, and it's in the velocity of how fast it's improving is like mind blowing. So there's sort of like what's happening right now until when. And I'm just going to put 3 years as sort of like, it's hard to see past 3 years, but like what's between now and 3 years, and then what's 3 years later, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So going back to think about, and I still stand by this statement too. I don't believe AIs are going to replace loan officers, but I believe loan officers who use AI will.
Yeah, well, they are. I mean,
They
they
are.
absolutely will. And and
Yeah.
and and AI with sales enabled technology, which, I'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Yeah. So I think just a couple high level things, right? Like we look, scale is the name of the game in the mortgage business because it's very difficult to do. There's so many things that prevent us from creating scale. Well, now I think is the first time in this business where AI can allow us to scale. So how do you scale yourself? Can you use it? Deal Desk is a great example. And like, I love what Ken Perry's doing at the Knowledge Group, creating, AI technology around scenarios and Deal Desk. Because coming from when I,
Shout out to Knowledge Coop. We'll put a link to Knowledge Coop down below.
Mhm.
Not only is it an incredible LMS and trading platform, compliance platform, but now he's got an AI enabled deal desk platform. So check out Knowledge Coop, guys. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I was making some introductions while I was down there because and I'm coming from when I was in leadership running all of operations and all of production, very difficult to staff to Deal Desk. It's difficult to manage that. So that's a huge lift. That also then reduces my margin exposure on that, right? It increases value to the originator. So obviously we don't have to belabor that because there's a huge advantage to create scale just from that scenario. Again, marketing and personal brand. We already know how much AI can help originators lift up their personal brand, their marketing, create that exposure. everything you're doing on the trust engine front, data insights, data harvesting, creating speed, creating predictability, getting in front of consumers earlier in a proactive level versus later, right? These are all things. And then there's a level of, and this is where I think this is going now, right, wrong, or indifferent. What functions, what minutia, what areas is technology going to be able to increase? Now, let's just take compliance out of the question for a second. But AI is going to be able to move that loan through the manufacturing process a lot quicker, more compliantly, with less room for error, and so much more. And I think that's where a lot of where, so much of this technology is going to go. And of course, that's going to help with margin and at least surviving and thriving within a margin compressed environment. Um, so I mean, those are just a couple, I think, on the manufacturing side of our loan of the loan process, that, and we're already seeing it come to the table. I don't know specifics, but I know there's some LOSs that are being developed that is going to be, I think a pretty big disruptor to the industry, really using AI as, within
Yeah.
that
Well,
whole
I
manufacturing
think
process.
everything, all the technology that powers, call it loan manufacturing,
Mm,
is going to be AI enabled. It's a question of
mm,
how fast, how much efficiencies it's going to drive,
mm,
how much cost is it going to save. But that, by the way, that was a theme at the MBA where I
mm,
felt a lot of confidence from executives that we're going to start really seeing a payoff of our tech spend. Um, so let's try to wrap up tech in 5 minutes and get to
okay.
LO comp. I am going to show our tech just because I think it's on point.
Yeah.
Um, you guys, well, it's kind of a commercial. This is not a commercial. This is really trying to just drive like the future of lending is here. And while, like you got to have CRM, like all of our lenders have CRMs. I am a huge advocate to loan officers that use your CRM and use it daily. But I do believe that, sales enablement is about saving loan officers time and actually doing some of the work for them. So tell me, let's just unpack some of the things we're doing. We're monitoring the database and think about bringing new loan officers into your company and saying, hey, that sphere of influence of 100 to 300 people, like, let's put that in the Trust Engine platform and let's put that in your CRM. By the way, usually we integrate with all the top CRMs, so that goes into the CRM, and then we're monitoring that for eligibility and propensity. So part of what I think is important going forward is tell the loan officer who to call next. Like leveraging technology to say, hey, this is reactive. Someone's running a credit report, but call them. And then I think when I say being proactive, hey, this person is eligible and they look like someone that could and should move up. You should reach out and create demand. Like they're not even talking to a realtor yet. Like this could be a listing and a move up. Hey, this person is eligible for buying their first home. Like be predictive, get to the consumer first. And then where I think things really get interesting, and again, could be a rate and term, could be a home improvement, could be streamline eligible, debt consol. But let's go predictive. Like and something that would be valuable to a realtor. I click on move up, make it easy for the LO officer to call, text, email, so multi-channel. Give the loan officer some sales leadership. And now this is where I really think we're enabling the LO because we're giving them scripts, like what to say if they call, what to say if they text, drive a quick engagement, boom, boom. I'm not going to demo the whole app, but I really feel like this is integrates with MortgageCoach so that now we're not only, remember earlier, guys, I said speed to need. We need to get to the need sooner for consumers. And then we need to explain things to consumer beyond just a fee worksheet. Here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash close. Unpack that. First of all, what do you think of that? And by the way, I know you've seen it before, so I know you love it, but unpack that for an executive and for a loan officer.
Yes, and so here's what's powerful about that, right? And not to reiterate everything you said, because it really just comes down to I'm making it easy, and here you go. I'm taking the work off your shoulders, so here you go. But this is why it's powerful. Back when I was just saying, if we look at the three main components within the mortgage company, from executive to branch manager to originator, and how do we create an alignment? How do we develop support and training? Well, this is one of those conduits to create alignment in that. We're providing support and training, we're providing information, we're providing database harvesting, we're providing solutions. So we need originators to, and I heard just surrender to it, right? And I just really mean by plug in, accept it, and now let's execute upon it. And branch managers, create accountability, create leadership, create support and training, create best practices. Help your originators do this. And originators, allow your branch managers to do that. And executives, support your branch managers. Provide the support that they need, the investment in this, provide the tool, make sure it is integrated in the CRM. Have a CRM solution. You see all these alignments. Now, this isn't new stuff. It's just, it matters more, I think, now, maybe than ever before. And the competition is responding because your competition is doing it. And that goes back to even tying this back to race to the top, right? And so I think that was a big game changer, because it really, like I said, it creates that alignment. It pulls that thread of everything together. And you don't have to have every piece of tech in the world, but pick something and kind of go deep with it and let it leverage you. And that's probably a good segue even to the LO comp conversation, because we're
Yeah.
going to have to do more, right?
Yeah,
We're going to have to do
we have
more.
to do more. We have to do more production. And guys,
Yeah.
here's a couple scripts for new loan officers, and I'll even edit it. Like if you had AI and an AI strategy, you brought in a new loan officer. By the way, all your existing loan officers need to learn to talk AI, how to have intelligent mortgage conversations with AI that bring value and speed to consumers and convenience. But think about, you could tell a new loan officer, I want you to call first 30 days. Well, we need to teach them mortgage IQ for 30 to 60 days. But once we feel like they can have the conversation, call all your renter friends, say, hey, help me. Remember, they know you. I need to get really good at having the rent versus own conversation, showing people their real estate story, helping them understand, okay, if you can't buy a home now, might take 2 years, might take 3 years, but how to have that rent versus own real estate story. Guys, they will get loans. Our platform will make that easy for them because it's got scripts. It's helping them call first-time home buyers. And then after you get good at that, you do it 20 times, you get a couple leads for your realtors. I want you to call your homeowner friends. I need help. I need to get really good at helping people who own homes optimize their equity, optimize their debt, achieve financial freedom faster. Everything that we teach at Trust Engine, I really feel like with AI, with the CRM and Trust Engine, like you could bring a new loan officer into the business and they could just explode their first year. And then I also think you give this to an existing LO, you can literally upgrade that LO into a new category. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think why that's also so important is because look, like I've told you, and I think I said this earlier on this interview as well, that I don't view this like a product. This is not a product to me. Mortgage Coach, Trust Engine, these aren't products. These are conduits to your personal brand. These are conduits to your sales strategy. These are foundations to stand on. And why and what you're talking about is important, because look, people have gotten beat up over the last couple of years. I've talked to many people like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I've lost my confidence.
Right.
This is what brings confidence back. This is where you start aligning your beliefs, your core values, your identity as an originator or branch manager, and so on. So are you targeting with first-time home buyers, real estate investors? Are you doing events? I mean, there's so many different things that you can align with. And through the course that we're talking about, especially with newer originators and existing originators that maybe feel a little bit lost. And what you were just saying, you will discover what it is that you love and what you do. And there's That is pure fuel behind you. So you are on offense. You're going to want to do this. You're going to want to have these conversations. You're going to want to make that phone call. You're going to want to give that consultation. You're going to want to use these mortgage coach and trust engine and everything else. And that is, every elite originator, and Dave, you interview them all, right? And we know,
I've interviewed a few hundred,
you,
or a few thousand actually.
you know a couple of them, and I will tell you, every one of them have such an enthusiasm, a love, and a desire to share. None of them are holding back. Here's everything I do. There is a love of what they're doing. And that is it. Like, that's not a coachy thing. That is a real thing. Like, I love what I do, right? And that exudes. That's part of, what I bring value with, because I really truly enjoy it. And if you look at all the elite originators, they truly enjoy what they're doing. And these are parts of how they have found that and connected with it, and then can deliver that.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Well, let's flip. We're a little over,
Yep.
but hopefully you're okay and we can go
Oh, I'm
another
good. I
day.
love the conversation.
Okay, let's flip. We're gonna end up doing a Joe Rogan 3 hour interview conversation here. Just kidding, audience. Like we're gonna wrap this up in 10, no more than 15 minutes. Loan officer comp. So
Yeah.
this came up a lot, and
Yep.
it's been coming up for years.
Yep.
And I'll just share some of my high level view on it, and I'd love to hear how you unpack this. So I did this post, and first of all, I had some loan officers, insinuate that Dave, you posted this with the intent that we should lower our comp. And then I answered it back. I said, well, I think there's probably some loan officers that should, you're not charging the right price to achieve your goals. And I know there's some, because I have the data, that could actually increase your comp and charge more basis points. But here's how I look at it if I'm talking to a loan officer. First of all, are you hitting your goals? Like, are you closing the number of loans and making the money that you want to? And if the answer is yes, I'm killing it, you probably charging the right amount. If the answer is no, then I would say go to your conversion leads to loans. And if you are one of the best in your region, or however look at your peers, because what market you're in matters, what product type matters, like jumbo, conventional, government, like all these things matter. But if your conversion is good and your price concessions are competitive, then you're probably okay. But if your conversion isn't leading, if you're not hitting your numbers, well then, like just look at it as a business person, that you have a product that you sell, it's a loan. You have a price that you have it at, you have promotions and marketing. And loan officers, I think in many cases, they just don't look at it. They kind of think like, you know what? I used to make 50 or 150 basis points. Now I make 120. I'm not going to make less than 120 basis points, or whatever the number is. And they just get caught up in this. This is what I'm worth. This is what I've always done. And my kind of message to loan officers is that's not the right thinking. Doesn't matter what you've always done. It matters, like, what do you need to do now to win in a sustainable way in the market? Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. Again, agreed at all. And the way I kind of look at it too is, if you're viewing the loan, I'm going to try to make as much money as I can per loan, then I think that might be old thinking. What got us here may not get us there type of thinking. There is more value and more wealth for you to do more loans. So where that balance is of, and again, is it worth 25 basis points, or is it worth doing one more loan? And I'm not saying that 25 basis points is the difference between doing one more loan or not. I'm saying the mindset of, I need to do and I want to do more loans, help more consumers, because obviously the compound effect of that. So no. And the answer of, is margin compression solved by LO comp alone? Absolutely not. It's all a factor. So, compensation and value is ultimately what the market is willing to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And then
yeah,
tell me what your thoughts on this are, because I also had people kind of weigh in and, kind of get into the whole, broker versus
yeah,
banker
yeah,
and to me, it's about advice versus price. So I don't care what model you're in,
yeah,
before you're going to look at your price, you should look at, you know, like if you're selling loans and you're like, here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash to close, you're selling price. You're
yeah,
selling, it's my rate, it's my payment, it's the cash to close. You have to give disclosures, but if this is how you're packaging your product, that's your product. And you know what? You're not going to be able to make as much margin. Whereas if you're packaging your product and you're showing people options, you're showing people like this is not the same product. Like this loan officer that helped a first time home buyer and showed him like what they could, a real estate plan. Hey, if you bought this 3 bedroom house, the first time buyer was planning to rent out 2 of the bedrooms at 625, and it was in Denver, Colorado. I can't remember what the appreciation rate was, but the buyer was everybody's making an assumption on what their appreciation rate was. The loan officer plugged it in and said, "Hey, based on that, your number, this is what your net worth would be in 5 years." Based off of you saving that 625, which was they had the money to save that. This is your net worth. Like it's a different product. Like you're selling like this versus this is a different product. And so one of my messages is also before you adjust your price, what's the product that you're delivering to the consumer? Is it is it price? And if it's price, you know, notch down your comp. And if it's product, upgrade the product. Thoughts on that?
yeah. Well, and again, notice how that conversation has nothing to do with channel. Has nothing to do with channel. That's
No.
purely on who are you as an originator? What value are you providing? And to your point, right? Like call center originators might be more commodity, transactional, right? Customer for life originators, relational, value oriented. So it has nothing to do with channel. The channel, there's pros and cons to the channels. There's pros and cons to all the, you just need to make sure that, I mean, everybody has to make sure that your values align with your employer's values and the organization and the tools being provided. And does that give you and fuel you to be the best version of you? And are you also taking advantage of those resources? Because I see it, I mean, again, recruiting in the mortgage business, right? It's kind of awful, right? And people sometimes are just moving around, and for whatever reasons, I'm not to get in all of that, but it's quite often I've seen it so many times where an originator moves to a different company and then ends up doing exactly what they could have been doing at the prior company. They just weren't taking advantage of it. They had to have some breakup to then do what they and and I certainly experienced that. And I know when I talking with executives and branch managers and originators, that happens. So anyway, not to dovetail there, but my point, going back to your point, doesn't matter what channel you're in. What kind of
Yeah,
originator
no,
are you? What value are you providing, and what's that worth?
yeah. And I am hearing a trend that, and again, I don't have all the data. I'm doing 2 studies right now. So if anybody wants to, like, wherever you're watching this for loan officers, I'd love to know what your loan or your lead to loan conversion is. So far among top producers, like people doing over 50 million in volume, I'm hearing 23 to 30 some odd percent. I've had a few people in the 15%. Again, we're talking elite. I mean, some of them didn't qualify, some never called you back. We're talking distributed retail referral leads. We're not talking consumer direct. But I would love to know what the average lead to loan conversion is. So let me know down below. And then I'm also hearing that the loan officers that do the less volume are charging more per loan. And the loan officers that are doing more volume are charging less. And it's not like they're making 2 dimes, or 5 nickels for every 2 dimes. Like they're making like 10 nickels instead of 2 dimes. They're making 20 nickels instead of 2 dimes. Um, and
I mean, that's a
you,
10x versus 2x
yeah,
strategy, right?
yeah. And do you have any data on that? By the way, if anyone's listening to this and you have data, I am looking for data to kind of know. I want to bring leadership to the executives. I want to bring leadership to the
Yeah.
loan officers so that we can get ahead of the market, because the market is going to tell you if your comp is right. But how can you be more proactive so that again, I want to help the industry be more proactive. Any
I
thoughts
mean,
on
I
that?
don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't have specific data to what you're trying to measure there, but inherently, exactly what you just said. The top originators tend to charge less comp, but and provide more value, and the bottom tier originators, and I get it, they're not doing enough volume, so they have to charge more because they're trying to make more per loan. But again, that's a 2x strategy. I'm just going to work harder and grind it out more. That's a quantity strategy. And again, 10x is easier than 2x. If you haven't read that book, I highly, highly recommend it. The 10x strategy that's customer for life. Customer for life is a
Right,
10x strategy. Calling for refis is a 2x strategy.
right, right.
Right.
Agreed. Well,
Yeah.
dude, let's wrap this up. And anybody listening to this, if you have thoughts on any of these topics, we went race to the top. Um, Don't be status quo reactive.
Yeah.
Be proactive. Speed to lead is a way to get to the top faster. We talked about tech, AI, being predictive with data, sales enablement, trust engine. We didn't get into as many tech adoption strategies as I'd like to do, and let's do that more in the future.
Yeah. Do that.
If you want me and or Craig to really give a technology adoption roadmap, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're an executive and you want me to walk you through, how what our formula is and what our playbook is and what are the moves we make to optimize adoption, reach out to me, David Trust Engine, um, private message me in whatever social media you're in. Um, and then we closed out with loan officer comp. But what what are the best ways for people to connect with you, follow you? Where should people follow you and connect with you?
Yeah. I mean, look, going to my website is probably one of the easiest ways. It's ascendxc.com. Certainly find me on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the good stuff there. And go, and look, I've led tech adoption, I've led change, certainly throughout my leadership career now in my fractional leadership. So again, happy to help anybody, with you, Dave, on that. And the other thing I would add, I'll share that my customer for life vertical with everybody. I am running what I call my business blueprint accelerator, November 19th to the
I like
22nd.
the sound of that.
This is my version of business planning, right? 'Tis the season, and I have a fundamental belief that most business plans just don't work. So what you saw there is a part of my business blueprint. So I will help drive clarity, momentum, scale, and personal brand as your business blueprint. So if that's of any interest, I'll send you my links. Let me know. And what's better is doing that if you want that as a private, either workshop or virtual, with your group. I mean, that's where these things really excel. So look, that's getting on offense ultimately. Like all the tactical stuff, that's all really important. But if you don't have clarity going into the year and you don't know how to drive momentum and you don't know how to scale and you're not in touch with your personal brand, again, it's just going to be this consistent whack-a-mole management of activities. And that's really going to create inconsistency. So I am trying to solve for that for as many people as I can heading into the year, because I think it's going to be a very opportunistic year.
So reach out to Craig. Again, what's the best number, email?
Yeah.
Remind me.
Craig at ascendxc.com is my email address.
Down below. It's got a website. Follow him
Yep.
on LinkedIn. All right, bro. Well, anything else before we wrap it up, man? I know we went a few over, but you're good.
Oh, I'm great, brother. I love the conversation. Love to continue the conversation. There's so much goodness to be had here. So I appreciate everything you're doing, man.
All right. Well, everybody tuned into this. Hope you got a lot of value. If you want to learn more about Trust Engine, trustengine.com. Individual loan officers can sign up for our Mortgage Coach product, which is built into the Trust Engine platform. If you want to get a demo, upper right-hand corner, there's a place to connect with us. I always post the, whatever the interview is or the content that I've created most recently that turns loan officers into trusted advisors at savageinsights.com. And whatever call I'm doing next is at the very top of that. So if you want to stay tuned with everything I'm doing to turn loan officers into trusted advisors, go to savageinsights.com. Take care, everybody.
Um,
Thanks, brother.
you bet, man.
Boom.